One of my biggest goals is to really cement Filipinos as a powerhouse when it comes to music. I think that we have a story, and I think our people has a story that's meant to be heard. That's a dream that I never let go of.
John Vincent Salcedo, congratulations for making it to the list of Forbes 30 under 30. How does it feel?
It doesn't feel real, but I'm happy and I'm proud because it took a long time for me to get here. It took a lot of sleepless nights and hungry evenings for me to get here. So I'm proud about it. My mom is proud about it, and I think that if my mom is proud, I'm good. That I'm happy about that.
You read my mind because I was going to ask you next about that. How did your family react to the news? How did you break it to them?
I sent them the domain link. Like I sent them the Forbes exact link. I was like, check this out. I didn't say anything at first. And it took them a minute to hit. They were like, wait, what is this? And then it kind of came together like, oh, wow, you're on this list. What's funny is they obviously, they love everything that I do. They appreciate it. But it's a running joke in our family that no one in my family knows what I actually do for a living. So when things like this happen, and being a part of like a list like this, they're kind of like, oh, so you are actually like, you have a real job. I think it doesn't hit them that it's like what I do is an actual occupation, is something that pays bills. It took them a minute to get that, and things like this puts it in perspective of like, okay, the decisions you made, the sacrifices you made, it's starting to work out. And I think that at least I think they're happy about it, and I'm glad.
There's also another thing that I want to make mention of. Your VP of Digital Marketing for Columbia Records. So you hold such a very influential position as a VP at such a young age as well. Can we backtrack a bit and take us through your journey in music?
The passion started because I wanted to be an artist. I had dreams, I had aspirations to be an artist. That was what I was doing by the time that I got here to this country. I wanted my story to be heard. I fell in love with hip hop at a young age. I still say it now. Hip hop changed my life and absolutely changed my family's trajectory in this country, right? And I wanted to just give that back. I wanted people to hear my story. I felt like I had a story that was unique, and that was my entryway. That was kind of where the passion started. And from there, I learned all of these skill sets, and most independent artists that's listening to this, they'll agree with this. When you are an independent artist, you're by yourself, you don't have a label, you don't have a management, you kind of just have to take on everything. You're responsible for directing your music videos. You're responsible for creating your album art or your single art. You're responsible for marketing yourself. And that's what I learned as an independent artist. Was I was actually creating and, cultivating the skill set that ended up being something that I use now 15, 16 years later. So that was my entry. I wanted to be an artist. When I stopped making music and I kind of, wanted to move on to the other side of the table, I already had all of those kind of connections. I already had all of those touch points from being an indie artist that allowed me to just, navigate through. And luckily I found my way to Columbia Records like a couple of years later. So it's a blessing, but it all started with that dream. I had a dream, and I kept following.
Your title is Digital Marketing, which is also pretty new. And so maybe let's join your parents in asking, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My responsibility is to make sure that artists that I work with are felt on the internet. People know that their music is coming out. People know that their music videos are coming out. People know that their albums are coming out. I make a joke, right? Or when I try to explain my job in one line, my role is to make sure that our artist is above everybody else's timelines. So you see their tweet more than anybody else. You see their Instagram post more than anybody else. You watch their music videos more than anybody else. That's my goal. We create communities online. We tell stories of our artists online, and that's kind of how I position myself in the job that I do. So that's a range of things. That's everything from producing documentaries for artists to working with different influencers, working with different creators on different social platforms to make sure that the music is being heard. That's kind of how I sum up what I do in a quick sentences.
Right. Now I got that. And I understand, and I know that you're now in a position of influence, like we said earlier. But I know that, and you did mention a lot of hungry nights. It didn't come easy for you. Now, looking back from where you are now, could you maybe recall your top three maybe struggles to get to where you are right now? And what did you learn from those?
I think a lot of it kind of shifts, right? There's the struggle with family. and we're going to be just very honest here, being an immigrant here, coming here at an age where, you kind of shoulder a responsibility to succeed, right? Not just for your family here in America, but your family back home as well, because they're depending on you and your success to be able to help out, right? That's just the reality of Filipino immigrants, Filipino first generations in this country, right? So that's one struggle right there. The struggle of having to kind of walk into the unknown, right? Like taking a chance on letting people know, like, I'm going to work in music. I'm going to find ways to pay for my bills, help my parents out, help my cousin's graduation, and college fund back home out by working in music, which is a path that isn't common. Like that, I remember when the first time I told my mom that, she's like, okay, so when are you going back to law school, or when are you going to go back to, like, those were the questions for a long time, right? So that's one struggle. The struggle of the fact that you got to bear this responsibility to succeed, and you're walking to a path that is completely unknown, right? Because at that point in time, I didn't see others that looked like me working in the music industry. I didn't see others like me succeeding in the music industry. So you're really walking into a situation where I could 100% fail, and what do I do now? Right. So that's one. But then just the job itself, right? Like we are in a person to person industry. You're dealing with artists, you're dealing with personalities, you're dealing with a certain creative vision that, yes, like they are hungry for that. So you have to match their hustle as well. So when they don't sleep because they're in the studio all night, it's only right for me as an artist helper to also not be sleeping, and also to be thinking about how to push their vision forward, right? Because these are people that their lives are on the line for this music. So, and I draw myself as an artist helper. That's what I am at the end of the day, is I help artists push their vision and creative forward. So when they're working 200 times, they haven't slept in 18 hours, or they're touring every single day so they don't see their family, I have to match that hustle too. Right. So it's, sleepless nights, days where I was an intern, not making money. Like, that's it. Like I was just working for free just to be in a position where I can potentially meet somebody that can help me move up. So I would pay my own money to go to New York City to, eat dollar slice just to work for free, just to be in a position to hopefully, be recognized for whatever I bring to the table, a couple months down the line. Like, these are kind of sacrifices and passions, once again, is what drives a lot of this, and I tell people, if you're willing to do this for free, like, you're going to love it. Right. I loved it. It sucked. And it was tiring, but I loved it. And that's why I did it. And, that's gotta be the first step of every single thing.
So you said the first struggle is being an immigrant. The second struggle is the work itself, the hustle, right? Would you have a third struggle?
There is one of me in our label. There is, a few other Filipinos scattered in a few other territories and a few other labels as well throughout the industry that I respect and love. There's not a lot of us, and it's a growing industry, it's a changing industry, and we're getting really, really better at it. I think, our label is probably one of the best when it comes to putting together a team that's multi-diverse, is multicultural, but it's not common. We're back at that. It is not common. Most Filipinos right now probably don't know that this could be a job. And they're not even thinking of it. So they don't hone their skills, they don't hone their creative, they just don't think it's possible, and that in itself is a struggle that you kind of battle with every single day, is to prove that you're worth it to be in that room. And to prove that you got a seat at the table that you can fight for.
Right. I love that. And this is why we do what we do here on So Jannelle as well, right? Discover and share stories like yours in order to inspire not just individuals, but also the parents of individuals. Because, as you said, Filipino parents, up until recently, or maybe until now, they're still their minds are still close to the fact that their kids can pursue a career in entertainment, in the creative, right? So, if you could talk to those parents right now, what would you tell them?
You came and sacrificed everything you had back home to come to this country to change the way that your life, your kids' life, and your kids' life is. Don't put a ceiling on what they can do, right? This is the quote unquote land of this is the land of the dreams, and that's what this is considered, right? Like that was the postcard they give you back in the Philippines. It's like, if you go to America, you can achieve anything. So let them push for that. Let them try to achieve the highest possible goal they can have, because you just never know what will happen, right? The one thing I do guarantee is if you do put a ceiling on them, that's where it stops. That's where it stops. If you allow them to at least try, support what they want to do, and understand that we live in America. I know people that are turning millionaires from insert random thing they're doing here. I know people that are ending up on a Forbes list or a Billboard list or a whatever list by barely doing the minimum, right? Like, we are hardworking people. We are creative people. Allow your kids to at least explore the creative side of the world, and you just never know. Like, I truly believe that we cap ourselves in our greatness, and let's kill the ceiling. Let's give it a shot. Let's try really hard, and we might wake up one day and we might be sitting on the next Whitney Houston. We might be sitting on the next Clive Davis, right? Like a parent's kid that's 12 years old drawing at home, and they're telling him, nah, don't draw. That's not going to make you money. They might be the next Andy Warhol, the next Basquiat. Like, we don't notice because we stop our kids from just understanding the growth of their creativity. So that would be one. If I can say this to every parent, that just allow your kids to at least imagine and support them, and you never know what, the success that might come with that.
So inspiring coming from such a young guy like you, who's also very influential. It's obvious that you've gone through a lot, right, in your young age. What about your advice to artists right now? The game has changed, and it is changing.
Yeah.
Gone are the days when artists struggle to be heard and signed by labels, because right now they can actually self-produce, and with social media they can actually put their music out there. So what's a good way to go? But you're with a label as well. So what would you say to artists out there?
It's funny is it doesn't change. Artists, if you're signed or not signed, I have one usual suggestion off bat. Go put the music out. Be confident in what you're making and put it out, right? And then the second step is cultivate your community. Engage with your community. Find the people that are like-minded. Find the people that, will listen to your music, that understands where you're coming from, what your songwriting is about. Find those people and connect with them, not just on a, I'm an artist, you're a fan level. Like, connect with them personally. The power's in your hands. If you have an Instagram account, a TikTok account, a SoundCloud account, you can be heard, you can be discovered.
When you talk about people that you've met that have inspired you, that you've learned from, who are those maybe top three Filipinos or non-Filipinos that you look up to in your industry?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't, it's hard because there's more than three. There's a lot, right? And there's people that I have met that kind of inspire me, and there's people that I've worked with directly that inspire me. I can't really start this conversation without mentioning, someone that I work with very closely. I've worked with for the last 5 or 6 years. His name is Manos. He's somebody that I've been with in Columbia Records, and prior to that, he's somebody that I look up to. He's also someone that came from a different country into America and found his way, and also kind of navigated. So that's kind of like one that I really, really fully, respect and love. There's there's so many, man. Honestly, there's an artist manager. He doesn't even know that I might know him. There's an artist manager out of DC. His name is Chris Classic. He manages Smino. He's somebody that I've watched from afar, because hip hop is not an easy genre to break into, and he's somebody that I watched him from the ground up as an independent manager, take an artist, built him from ground up. That those things inspire me, because I know how difficult that is. He's someone that I have to throw out there and talk about. There's another person. His name is Kayvon from Toronto. Once again, someone that I respect, someone from afar that I really watch. His name is Kayvon from Toronto. He works with Daniel Caesar. He's a creative director. He's a manager. He's somebody, same thing, like, another Filipino that found their path, that from the ground up, independent artists, independent management team, really did it with by themselves. And these are the sort of traits that I love. These are the sort of people that I draw inspiration from, because I know how hard it is to be an independent artist, to try to make it, right? Like, just to take it full circle, I was that. So when I see and can find that path where you actually succeeded as an independent artist with just yourself and your friends, there's a beauty in that magic, you know. So those are the people that, you know, I kind of, off the top of my head, there's a lot more, and I don't even want to leave them out. That's why I kind of feel bad for this question. So I'll find a way to make it up to everybody. But, you know, those are just some of the people that forever inspires me. You know, Roslyn over at, you know, Roslyn at Mix, like somebody, like these are the people that I look up to. You know, I find them, I see them, and you know, they're, you know, she's somebody that I remember when I was my age trying to make music, like, oh, who's that? Because I gotta like find that person, right? Like these are, you know, we gotta celebrate these people. There's so much more. I'll be honest with you. I can this could be its own interview segment because I can really talk about all of these brilliant Filipinos forever. But you know, these are the people that inspire me daily.
So who's on your radar right now? Right now, any like your top three Filipinos, maybe Filipino artists? Because you mentioned love for
Mhm.
music, and what Filipino doesn't love music, right? We love music. We
Absolutely.
gravitate over that. You know, karaoke and stuff. Even hip hop. A lot of Filipinos are underground doing that. So who's on your radar?
I can't, I gotta start with my man Clinton Kane. He's an Australian Filipino singer songwriter. You know, I think he's somebody that's really gonna be an important figure in our like group of people, right? Like he's someone that I think is fulfilling a wish that most Filipinos had. He's a singer-songwriter, guitar player. He's brilliant. He's somebody that I would love for everybody listening to check out. He's, you know, like I joke around like a Filipino Ed Sheeran, you know, like that's how kind of like that's my, you know, that's how I define it to people. But you know, he's someone that I would definitely tune out and look out for. You know, I gotta talk about, you know, Manila Gray over in Toronto. You know, I think these two guys are really, they're finding their own niche. I think they're breaking a barrier that isn't really being touched by a lot of Filipino artists, and I think that has to be celebrated because that's a completely unknown territory. But also, you know, musically, now I'm a big fan of the Toronto sound. I'm a big fan of that Toronto R&B sound, and I think that, you know, they're a group that, you know, we'll be looking up to for a really long time, and I hope a lot of Filipinos are giving them a shot and checking them out. Um, and last one, you know, I gotta talk about Christian Alexander. You know, Christian Alexander is an artist that came from Queens, born and raised in Queens, New York, Staten Island. Actually, I apologize, not Queens. Born and raised in Staten Island, New York, and actually decided to leave America, move to the Philippines because he felt that our love for hip hop, as you said, needed to be guided a little bit more. And he's an artist there. Currently writes for a lot of people. Also makes music. He was currently in the Paradise mixtape that just came out, but he's a great artist to check out. His name is Christian Alexander. But though, yeah, those are the three that I would say, you know, please give him a shot, you know, give him an opportunity and give him your streams. And, you know, we need it to continue to build a community.
Love that. Now, what about from your experience? Are there things, traits that one must have in order to make it in this industry?
Every personality, every artist that I've been blessed to meet, every single successful music business person that I've been blessed to meet have two traits. They work really, really hard, like to the point that, you know, they're the people that like they'll run, you know, they'll do anything possible to make it happen. You have to really be passionate about this.
What more do you want to achieve? How high will you want to take this to?
My goal where I'm looking, I want to develop that back home. I want to develop an ecosystem within music that will allow not just, you know, born and bred Filipinos, but Filipino Americans, Filipino Australians, Filipino globally, to be able to have this community that'll learn from each other, that'll grow with each other, that'll work with each other, that'll collaborate and put music out together. I think that's the next step we need to take, right? Like we've always had the talent. I think it's now time to put it together properly and package it right. We need to people like myself and others that are educated in the music business to actually come together and develop this properly in the Philippines. That's where my head is at right now. That's my goal. And, you know, hopefully that's something that, you know, we can rally around.
Love that. Does that mean that you're not opposed to moving to the Philippines to do this?
I'm here for a job. I was sent here at my age to be able to provide for my family and help my family back home. And then I'm going back home. Like that's how I've always viewed my life in this country. And until I get there properly in the way that I need to, I'll be here, but yes, if the opportunity allows it, I'm in the next flight out.